Hey guys, this is Ken from JazTime.com, and today we'll be doing a comparison between two different companies' divers watches. On my left, we have the newly released and shown at Baselworld 2016, the Tudor Heritage Black Bay, reference number 79230N, and we're going to be comparing it against the Rolex Submariner 114060. I'll be going over the price, the dial, the bezel, the case, the crown, bracelet, and additionally the movement at the end. Okay, so as of December 2016, the Tudor Black Bay retails for $3,675, but you can get it for as low as $3,200 at JazTime.com. For the Rolex Submariner, you can get it at any retail Rolex store for $7,500. Or you can go to JazTime and you get it for as low as $6,600. Okay, so let's go ahead and compare the dials now. As you can see, almost very similar looking dials, but let's go ahead and point out the differences. First of all, we have the coloring of the text. We have sort of a bronze coloring on the Tudor. It has a nice contrast to that black dial. While on the Submariner, we have the white. Obviously, another great contrast as well. This one's up to preference. For the hour hand, we have the snowflake hand on the Tudor, which has this large angular, as indicated by these large angular shapes, while the Rolex sports the Mercedes hand. As you can see there, it kind of looks like a Mercedes symbol, and that helps for easier viewing of the time. For more readability though, the Tudor wins out overall because look at the hands on that. The whole thing is a luminous hand, while the Rolex has partial luminous in the hands, as it's as you can see, it's a little bit thinner than the Tudor's hands. However, they are both luminous for up to 8 hours, and the hour markers fairly look about the same size as well. Rolex calls their dial the Maxi dial, which has 30% larger hour markers than the typical Rolex watch. However, it looks like the Tudor has kept up in pace, and they have very similar hour marker size. So the readability of both watches are very, very good. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the bezel now. With the bezel, on the Tudor, we have a matte black anodized aluminum bezel. It has a 60-minute gradation all around, and it really takes that light and smooths it out very evenly across the bezel. As you can see, there's no bright shining of the light on the bezel. It makes a nice smooth shine on the bezel, which is very nice. However, compared to the Rolex, the Submariner's ceramic bezel, this black aluminum that you see here will fade over time, while as the Rolex's Submariner, they have the black baked into the ceramic, making that ceramic keep this nice black color throughout its lifetime. Not only that, it's incredibly scratch resistant as well. So it has a much higher durability than that aluminum of the Tudor. Something to keep in mind. Along with that, to go even further, the index markers along with the actual Arabic numerals are dusted in a platinum for even more durability on the bezel. So absolutely amazing by Rolex to go above and beyond. You can also see the difference in shine between the bezel. As you can see, the Rolex has much more of a sharper shine, and that, like I said, that Tudor does much more of a greater job in smoothing out that shine on the bezel. So that one is up to preference if you like a more shinier or like a little bit more smoother on the bezel. So let's go ahead and talk about the case now. Let's compare the cases now. The case size of the Tudor is a 40mm case, indicated by my middle finger here and my thumb. That's a 41mm in diameter. Not much bigger than the Rolex Submariners, which is a 40mm in diameter case. So pretty similar in that regards. The only thing I can mention about the case is the case material. I believe Rolex has their own in-house steel, which is a 904L steel, which is a little bit more durable, a little bit more shinier than the industry standard steel that Tudor would be using, which is a AISI 316L steel. So there's more durability on the Rolex watch. And as you can see here, it's kind of demonstrated by this high polish on the side of the case. I just wanted to show you that before we move on to the profiles. You can see the high polish on the steel on the Rolex comes out much more shinier, much more reflective. And look at the Tudors. It's almost just as shiny, but it kind of looks like more of a blurry shine. So that's one thing to keep in mind there. For the profiles, as you can see, I'll line them up there. They pretty much have just about the same profile. So both of these make great watches if you wear suits or dress shirts a lot. This will fit under the suit cuffs, dress cuffs very nicely. Will slide under very easily. Okay. So I want to go ahead and show you the crowns now. Okay. So with the crowns, Tudor has what they call literally big crown. It's a reference to one of their older models of crowns that literally is just a big crown. It has their old Rolex, or has the old rose engraving on this engraved onto the side of the crown. So it's a much larger crown, matches with that width of that watch. While the Submariner has the Rolex crown engraved onto its crown and matches the width of the watch as well. Okay. Let's go ahead and move on to comparing the bracelets now. So with the bracelets, there's going to be a little noticeable difference as Tudor decided to do something a little bit different with their watch, which is kind of strange as they tried to move on to the more modern look of the watch with the dial. As you can see, it kind of matches that Rolex dial in similarities when moving on to more modern. But with the Tudor, I'm going to go ahead and place a Submariner down. They've actually tried to do a more vintage look, trying to do a throwback to the 1950s, 1960s with this more riveted bracelet look. As you can see there, it has these little protrusions of little pins. Now, most of these little pins are going to be on the fixed portions of the bracelet. As you can see there, 1, 2, 1, 2. They try to mimic that old oyster bracelet look. Okay. Let me go ahead and show you the Submariners. So with the Submariners on the side of their bracelet, they have a nice high polish on the side of the bracelet for a little more shine. Once again, want to mention that difference in steel, that 904L steel. As you can see, it definitely pops more on the Rolex and that oyster, and it tapers down very nicely, while the Tudors is just flat 3-piece links. As you can see, matches all the way throughout. Okay, and I just want to clarify that bracelet is called a riveted bracelet. Okay. Also want to mention that these bracelet links are solid. The Tudor didn't do solid links on the older style watch, but this newer style one that came out has solid links now. And what that means is that, as you can see as I wiggle the bracelet a little bit, there's almost no wiggle room. So that means this bracelet will stay in the same size and same conformity throughout its lifetime, which is very, very nice. And that's the same as going to be with the Rolex bracelet as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the clasp now. As you can see, different size clasp, as they're just different size clasp. They both have the same function. They have a safety oyster. As you can see, this pops out. That's the safety. And this portion pops out, and that's the oyster. That's the folding oyster. With that, we have the Tudor name engraved onto one of the clasp blades. Behind the clasp, you can adjust the Tudor bracelet only a small 2mm increment or increase for just slight adjustments for hot weather. If your wrist swells up, you can adjust for a little more comfort. Okay. That one's a little bit harder to do because you have to press in the pins in order to adjust the bracelet, whereas I'm going to show you the Rolexes now, the Submariners. Okay, so here's the Submariner's clasp with the Rolex name embossed onto the clasp blade. And back here, as I've shown you with the Tudor, the Rolex goes above and beyond with what they call the glide lock extension feature. What that means is you see these little riveted edges inside the clasp itself. You can actually do 2mm increments of adjustment, downwards or inwards, for up to 20 millimeter increments in total. So as you can see, this is the bracelet fully inward. And this is if your wrist is cold and it hasn't swelled up yet, you can just hold it on there and then it'll be nice and tight on your wrist. But what if you need, what if you want to put it over a wetsuit, which is what the Submariner is, a diver's watch. And this was made with wetsuits in mind. So you can adjust however much that wetsuit is, or even if your wrist swells up, you can adjust it all the way and give yourself more comfortability, more room for that watch to sit on your wrist without strangling your wrist. But one thing I want to mention about this feature that trumps above and beyond the Tudor's extension feature is that if you're trying to pass down the Submariner as a gift, you don't have to take this to the jewelers. You don't have to get a link removed. You don't have to buy an additional link and add it on so it can fit whoever you want to give it to as a gift. You can just adjust it how it is and it'll be set to go. So that really is a quality of life feature that is often overlooked, but it's very, very nice. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the movement of the watch now. I'm going to go ahead and place the Submariner down and start with the Tudors first. So with the back of the case, it's just a simple oyster case backing that houses the movement. Tudor upgraded their movement so that this case back is a little more dome shaped than the older version of the Tudor Heritage Black Base. So this has a little bit higher profile than the older style Tudors, so that's something to keep in mind. And the movement of this Tudor is what's called it's an in-house movement that they've made for this watch, and it's called the MT6702. It has a 70-hour power reserve, and it features a non-magnetic silicone hairspring to resist those magnetic shocks. Okay, so comparing that to the Submariner, let's see how that fares up. The Submariner runs an in-house movement as well. It's a 3130 movement based off the 3135 movement. And this 3135 movement has lasted over 15 years. It's a very solid movement. And this 3130 movement is very similar to that movement, as the 3135 allows for the date adjustment. Of course, it's a sub with no date. So this is very similar in that regard. With that quality, with that durability. It has this movement, however, has only a 48-hour power reserve. So something to keep in mind, you can drop this, or you can put this Tudor down on a Friday evening, pick it up back on a Monday, and it will still be ticking. With the Rolex, you can't do it for as long, obviously, as it is 48 hours compared to that 70-hour power reserve. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Another thing is the certifications for the movement. The Tudor is a official Swiss chronometer certified, meaning that it has a COS certification that can lose 4 seconds over time, lose 4 seconds or gain 6 seconds daily, while the Rolex goes through more intensive testing. It goes through the same testing as a Tudor, but goes another testing Rolex's own testing facility to make sure that this watch is superlative chronometered, meaning that it has a loss of 2 or gain of 2 seconds daily. So that's a testament to the accuracy of Rolex compared to the Tudor. Another thing to note is that the water resistance, these are both divers watches. These are sports divers watches. So which one has a better water resistance? Well, the Tudor has a 200 meter water resistance, with being 660 feet in conversion. The Submariner has 100 more than that. The Submariner has a 300 meter, 1,000 feet in total. So Submariner wins in terms of the water resistance. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and show you this watch this watch is on my wrist now. So to start off with the Tudor. Okay. And I know one thing I want to mention, I know I didn't talk about how the bezel works. And the reason for that is because we have lots more videos of individual product reviews, and you can check those out and see all the little knickknacks of each watch. But for now, I'm just doing a quick comparison. So here's a Tudor on my wrist. Look at that. Definitely that bronze coloring versus that black and the white from the hour markers definitely make a very beautiful, very eye candy looking dial. Here's that profile, as I said before, that domeness on the back of the case gives it a little higher of a profile. Let me go ahead and show you the Submariners now. Okay, so here is the Submariners. Oops. Pop, pop. So here's the Submariner on the wrist. Very beautiful. It's just a very classic looking dial. And really the Tudor is trying to be more like the Submariner. Like I said, they went with a more modern look, and it's trying to, as you can see, it's very similar in look, just a little bit different, some tiny differences. Okay. But for whatever you decide, check out our website at JazTime.com. We have the lowest prices guaranteed. We offer free shipping and a 1-year warranty. And if you liked the video, please like it, comment, and subscribe below. We've got lots more to show you guys. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you guys soon.